But next time, somebody remind me to record it. Could have recorded it. Doesn't have to be live. But you can think about it for the next day anyway. Recorded it.
Put it on.
I was listed, I couldn't get into YouTube. We're on.
Okay, I'll call to order the regular council meeting Monday, August 10th, 2026 to order. Is there any introductory of late items? Seeing none. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Councilor Reid, Councilor Marcel. All in favor? Carried.
The first item is adoption of minutes. That the minutes from the regular council meeting held July 27th, 2026 be adopted.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Marcel and Councilor Reid. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Receipt of minutes from the public hearing. That the minutes from the public hearing TUP 01-2026 be received.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Whitesell, Councilor Marcel. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried.
The next item is the community enhancement report. That the community enhancement officer report for the month of June 2026 be received for information.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Marcel and Councilor Whitesell. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried.
The 2025 drinking water report. That the village of Canal Flats drinking water report for 2025 be received for information.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Reid, Councilor Marcel. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Marcel.
Yeah, I have a couple of things in the report. How is the village populace notice aware that this is available? Do we send it out in the newsletter that the drinking water report is out, or do we put it on the website? Do we do both?
It would be something we post on, we can post on the website.
Yeah, because it's another one. I think this is another one of the reports that just end up being done and nobody's aware that it's been done. But that's, that they could get it and where to get it. So I'd like to see that done.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
something followed
Yeah,
up.
we can put it on.
Yeah.
Anything further? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, on page 16 of 37, the water consumption for the year.
Yeah.
That's an awful lot of difference between us and the rest of the world. Any idea how much of that is leakage?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, to answer that question, Councilor, we don't. We are about to engage in some leak detection. We've got a quote for some work to do leak detection. I think it's going to primarily focus on areas up from Eels Nest that we are pretty sure there are some leaks with the connections up there. But it is a reasonable amount for the first quote that we've received that I think we should be looking at doing an entire citywide leak detection or village-wide leak detection within the next 5 years.
Page 17 and 37, last column, E. coli positive counts in 24. I think we want to have that for the coli for 25. And we'll charge it for 25.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry, which page was that?
right here.
Oh, thank you.
Page 19 and 37, all your test results are for 24 and all the dates are 25. Appendix.
Yeah, it's just, they put the wrong date on.
Mhm. I will say that the corporate officer might have peer pressured the woman into getting this done in time for this council meeting. So it was a little bit of pressure.
I'm okay having it here, but if you send this out to the public.
Yeah. We'll make those corrections.
On page 18 of 37, cross connection control. All this work about identifying where the the laboratory is and everything else. And what we're wanting to do is protect above the water. Are we doing anything to follow up with that? Checking to see if there are old wells or septic fields or anything like that in this area, people that live in that section. That was identified in our water study.
Yeah, and that's part of the report that Shuck is working on, and they are looking to look at wells and close them up properly, the ones that need to be shut down.
So what are we doing, knocking on doors or?
I'll have to talk to Shuck, but that is part of what they're gonna be doing, yes.
Is that his 2025 work program?
No,
No, unfortunately, I mean, we recognize that the water and the sewer system projects are pretty big at this point. The water master plan is huge. Really, our biggest project in the water and sewer sector this year is getting the sewage treatment plant upgrade done, which requires a great deal of project management, as well as we have a water line extension coming up, and ensuring that our operators have sufficient hours in order to get their qualifications done. There's a lot of work to do in our water and wastewater system.
Yeah.
It's more than we have the capacity for internally. And so as we're working through prioritizing the projects, we at this point aren't sure where we're gonna, get lift station number 2 done. We don't have funding for the, which I can say now publicly because that came out. We don't have funding for the water line upgrade for this year through the strategic priorities fund, right? So we're really having to refocus our prioritization of which sections and which things we apply on for specific grants that are coming out.
Okay. It's been identified, and I think the first study that was done identified it as well, and I guess it's
well, and that's gonna correct things too, that report is a 10-year long report that came out, that the things that were identified. So it's gonna take some time to get these things done. It's not gonna all happen in probably.
well, I guess if nothing else, it should be put on the plans for the.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one that I see here that are the total coliform, says positive TC sample, which is a total chloroform sample, and it's positive in a couple of places on that on the schedule here, or the listing, page 19 and 20
Yeah,
of the report. It doesn't say how much it's over. Is this a minuscule above, or is it a dangerous above?
So those would be in our lab reports. And so if it was significantly over or didn't meet the requirements of the province, we would be having some action. So if there's nothing there specific in regard to action, I don't think it's an issue.
If I may add.
yeah, go ahead.
If you look at the dates, there's and I know this is live, so there's a large turnover for the drivers that pick up the water samples. And while they are in ice packs and it says do not freeze, do not put over a certain percentage on the cooler, sometimes it doesn't happen.
Oh,
So the fact that it's August 5th, August 13th, and August 19th could mean that they were corrupted samples.
Yeah.
More so than bad water, but corrupted by outside forces of they got overheated and then it's over temperature when it gets there and then it fails the testing.
so
It happens often.
that's a good notification. And then I did notice that if you're looking through the pages of the sample reports, if they are over, it's identified in red. That was page that was. Or,
Yeah.
Page 47 of 37 has got a comment, shading was applied when the result went over. I just wondered if there shouldn't be an asterisk on those to indicate that.
I think those are actual reports that are copied and pasted there, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we can edit them.
No, I wasn't saying that it down, just put an asterisk and explain the positive.
Oh, on the table,
Page like
Yeah.
that.
okay, that makes sense.
Just the thought that goes to the public, there should be an explanation.
Yeah, go ahead.
About the public, it actually, this qualifies as a requirement for Interior Health, so those are the people that assess.
Well, it's right to know.
Yeah, no, but I, yeah, just wanted to clarify that it is also an Interior Health document that.
Yeah.
that
Oh,
They
yeah.
have, they have an outline of what they want in every report.
Appreciate that, thank you. The other thing that I was thinking about this is we've spent a lot of time stressing, studying and talking about the water system this year. And so it's fairly important that we put a report out that it's got all the information it needs.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Anything further?
No, that's it, thank you.
Go ahead.
We recently implemented the backflow prevention bylaw this year.
Yeah.
Would that at all be pertinent to what's in here? Is that just more for the individual households?
It's more closely related to individual households, and if there's a surge in the sewer system, then it's not gonna flow back into the residences.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
so I think it's important to maybe when we're releasing the information to the public, maybe to add some back information about like, we applied for funding, we were unsuccessful on some of the funding. You know, like the water master plan that we presented at UBCM last year. So I think that some of that information in there and that we're not just sitting on our hands and that we're actually
Well, yeah, we're looking at
moving towards things.
other.
I think that would be important to add to this.
Okay,
Yeah, if I may.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think, we've provided and will continue to provide the grant application spreadsheet so that people can see where we are applying for grants, what we do receive and what we don't receive. And I think that's, and I will always personally make a snarky comment about not getting a grant for the things that are essential to our community, right? Like, we're talking about the fact that, we're required to have an asset management plan, but we have no actual funds to support managing our assets. And that we're constantly competing with other communities for a piece of the pie, when in reality, we all need it. And so when we're competing for funding and we don't get it because of a competition, it becomes really trying for a community our size to be able to generate the funds to do this management of our assets and to repair and to increase the longevity of our current assets. So I will probably always make a snarky comment about that.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to make sure because, Mayor Doherty and I did attend UBCM and I did feel that the asset management and all of that, not having the capital to support was really detrimental to our case when applying for this all.
Yeah.
Okay, anything further? All in favor? Oh, you guys have not, sorry.
Just a comment on that, because it is true that just about probably every village and hamlet and city in this province needs those funds. I wonder if they've ever thought about, or if there's any way that could become a UBCM conversation. Maybe listing out that in 2028, these towns are number one on the receiving list,
Mhm.
and scale it out, so over the years, everybody gets a crack at it.
Well,
Because everybody's putting us in, that there's always somebody who's
Yeah.
more.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Like federally, a great example of that is, in 2021, we had fires, we had floods, and applications for the DRIFT program, or sorry, not the DRIFT program, the federal equivalent to the DRIFT program. The disaster relief program. Multiple communities in the province applied for that funding, and one community got like $96 million, and other communities that had been impacted by floods and fire got nothing. So, should Burnaby, should Victoria, should this community or that community, and I'm just randomly choosing communities, should Kelowna always get, because they've got better capacity for grant writing, better capacity to have shovel-ready projects than other communities, and it becomes a little bit more challenging for someplace our size, right? We currently don't have a shovel-ready project, which is one of the things we're focusing on this year, is trying to have 3 or 4 projects that are ready for us to apply for various funding pots.
Yeah, so, and exactly that. The shovel-ready project, if you knew that you would be up for a grant in 2029, you would be damn sure, because that would be one of the requirements to get it, is you got a shovel-ready program.
Yeah.
So between now and then, you do your engineering, all the work. And it's kind of like, we're doing a bunch of that now, and I agree with that. But in 29 or 30, maybe before we get that money, maybe there's different things you can do, or maybe there's different priorities that a shovel-ready program not be the one.
Yeah, and that's why particularly we're focusing most of that shovel-ready work on water and wastewater system, as well as protection from and disaster protection for communities, so the diking, and then more community focused, the hall, public works yard and shop, and again, we have to have a sort of breadth of projects, but we have to know that right now, and I anticipate for the next foreseeable future, that underground infrastructure, water and wastewater are going to be 2 of the biggest things, and then emergency management, disaster mitigation projects will be the biggest things that communities are going to be moving to apply for, and that the federal government and the province probably will be funding. So having 3 or 4 of those kinds of projects, and having a couple of the more amenities types of projects over the next 5 years, getting those ready is really going to be important to us to maximize our funding opportunities.
Thank you.
Anything further? All in favor? Carried.
Council remuneration bylaw, that Village of Canal Flats Council remuneration bylaw number 221/2019 be received for information and discussion.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Marcel and Councilor Whitesell. Yes, you can.
So I'm a firm believer that council remuneration policy should be brought forward to council prior to every election. I think it's important that outgoing council be the driver in setting rates going forward, not an incoming council, because there can be a very negative perception to that happening. I do think that, this is the right time for us to start talking about this. We haven't done all the research on it because we weren't sure how council would feel about reviewing your rates. They are very low provincially. And I would suggest that my recommendation is that there are several regional boards or committees that we could have council members appointed to that we're not on currently, so that would increase the workload of councillors who are actively involved in those. This rate is gonna become smaller and smaller and smaller as time goes on, right? We need to be more actively involved in regional economic development. We need to be more actively involved in regional tourism, food bank, housing, childcare, all of those programs that we're not at the table advocating for the community on a regional level. And so I think there unfortunately just becomes more and more work for mayor and council to be done in order to support the sustainability and the needs of our community. So again, the per hour rate is going to get smaller as the work increases.
Okay, so does anybody have any thoughts on this? Go ahead, Councilor.
I was going to say we need a mandatory review on this, and I like your idea of prior to the next election, because I had like every 5 or 10 years it'd be mandatory that this review comes up. I think it's very essential. Putting a percentage point on something is dangerous of growth that's maybe not controllable, although the amount of growth on at 2% on the salary that's allocated is not that big a deal, actually. So it could go quite a bit faster. But I like the suggestion that it comes up every council before election for review. The only other thing I had was the annual remuneration for the acting mayor, other than being designated as our mayor's way, do we have we don't have an acting mayor, do we?
We do,
Yep,
we're
we do.
required to provide an acting mayor schedule,
Yeah.
We have it scheduled, so.
and infrequently, the mayor takes advantage of having an acting mayor. I think I've seen it twice in 6 months or 7 months that I've been on site.
Yeah, it's just the annual remuneration for the acting mayor. I was wondering how that worked.
Yeah, so for that period of time. And it's challenging, right? Because we're not talking per day. There's no per day. This is an annual salary, so it's monthly.
I'm just curious as to why I was there. But I really agree with that. That's a very good suggestion that comes up annually
Mhm.
prior to election time.
Yeah, and I think there are very different ways for council to address some of the remuneration and benefits that councils receive. We know that people have less and less time to volunteer, and at $4,300, this is a volunteer role. It's not a paid role for councillors, but it's becoming more and more challenging, right? People are traveling more for work. Most families require 2 incomes to survive in this current economic climate. So, and if you're talking about families that want to volunteer to coach kids' sports and maybe want to sit on council and make a difference, or one spouse or partner has one, interest in volunteering and another one has a different interest in volunteering, it can be very challenging to coordinate all that. So, I mean, there are lots of different ways to consider this and to get the broadest spectrum of participation that you can. You could look at having a base salary plus an attendance at committee rate. So everybody gets a base salary, and if you're appointed to a committee, for every committee meeting, you get an additional stipend for committee attendance. You might want to think about, in order to get more young people involved, you might want to look at a childcare allowance. We don't currently subsidize the mayor's cell phone, but he takes calls at home in the middle of the night by community members. Those are things that could make it more enticing for some people to make those commitments.
So,
So, Sam, I can tell.
so what I was kind of thinking was, we discussed it a little bit, talk about it, give it back to the staff to do a little bit of research on it, look, see where we're at, what we can improve and move forward. I know we don't have a great deal of money to entice people to, but it would be nice to be able to help out the people that are putting themselves out there to run, and any way we can help. So, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think just with where our village is at financially, it's really hard for the stomach to public, or the public to stomach any future, or any type of a pay increase for council. Over the course of my 2 years here on council, there is a significant amount of reading involved. There is a significant amount of taking, requests and inquiry from the public, responding and doing so professionally. It's definitely worth more than $4,300 a year plus 2%. But with that said, I think that in a town this size, we are doing it because we love our town. And I think that having more performance for pay is, like you suggested, I think if you were actively sitting on a committee, you get committee pay. There is, I've seen across many different types of organizations where there is a board type setting that when you sit on other committees, you do get additional remuneration for that. So that would be about the only thing I could see changing. I think wherever the salary is at right now, we would keep the salary at that. And if you're willing to throw in more than just your regular counselor duties efforts, then you can incentivize yourself to have more pay.
I think it's important to highlight for the public that this really ends up being volunteer. Showing up to UBCM, to AKBLG, to any other functions and things like that, additional training. I can tell you right now, I lose more than $5,000 in wages to take the time off of work to attend those. But again, I do it for the community, right?
I just took a week's holidays to go to UBCM, so.
Yeah, just right.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Former Mayor Juris once calculated her hours and her stipend and figured out she was making 47 cents an hour.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
And we can look at, like, we're just starting our budget discussions right now. Just reviewing, actually just going line by line through the budget with the staff right now. From wages all the way down to, cell phone usage. So we're going pretty in depth right now because we do see some things that have just been sitting there. But we can also look at, what does maybe a 2% cost of living increase is no longer the appropriate amount. So instead of a raise to the base amount, there's a more appropriate cost of living increase. And we can play around with some of those budget numbers to try and keep us in that 5% that we talked about as our goal last year for the next several years. And I think there's a possibility that happens.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of comments on this. Over the years of being on council, until 5 or 6 years ago, this was not taxed salary income.
Yeah, nowadays.
Now it is. And just on my meager income, so like what 25% of what we earned through because I didn't do anything about it, so take
Oh, right, yeah.
So I didn't put anybody aside. That's my problem, but it's just when that changed from what we were making at the time, it was important to get at least that much money back. And I think that's where there was a jump in salary.
That's this one.
Yeah, and that came out of that.
In 2018.
Well, 1990.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's a fair comment too, because you're not making 4,000. You're not making $4,300 a year. You're making 30 or 3,000 when you chop off your taxes, depending where you're at on your tax brackets. You lose it significantly. And the 2% annual increase is not a major budget increase in our village. I think it maybe helps get you up to where it compensates for the tax costs as well as maybe. I don't know when I signed up back when, I did not know that this was a paid position. But there was a number of people who said, "What, we get paid for this?" And so it's
You sort of get paid for it.
But I think a lot of it, as you said, is basically a volunteer position.
Yeah, very much.
But maybe, I don't know, put it out that this is how much you make, but then they don't change who puts the names up to the front.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, probably at this rate.
Yeah, go ahead.
So can one of us motion then for staff to research how some other municipalities might do a few of those options, or that's already kind of, those wheels are in motion?
Yeah, I already,
Direct.
yeah, we do need a motion to do that, so. Yeah.
I will motion that staff perform more research and provide options for council and mayor remuneration.
Okay, can I get a seconder, Councillor Marcel? All in favor? Carried. Just adding to your.
Sorry, it's writing it down. And the next item is security cameras at Tilly Memorial Park. That the security cameras at Tilly Memorial Park report be received for information and discussion.
Can I get a mover or seconder? Councillor Whitesell and Councillor Reed. Discussion. Go ahead, Councillor Whitesell.
Thank you very much, Mayor Doherty, for getting this onto the agenda. Yes, as in the face of the report, this was a comment on our Concerned Citizens of Canal Flats Facebook page. And we had a little bit of a discussion about this just internally over email about what infrastructure is there and what isn't, and what needs to kind of get it up and running and going. And I'm glad to see that there are some costs on the back of here just in doing so. It doesn't look overly onerous to do. I think because it's not part of this year's budget, I would not motion for it to be implemented. So unless somebody else would like to, I think that this is something that we can take and implement as part of next year's financial plan for the next sitting council. And yeah, have it ready for next summer if the next council so chooses.
Okay. So that's motion you're putting out?
I'm not putting out a motion actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm saying that I do not motion to start this conversation right now because it's not part of this year's financial plan.
Yeah, no, okay.
But because I wanted this as an agenda item that we could go back to and look at and say, here's how much it was in August of 2026 for us to do this, and we can have this ready for next year's summer season.
Yeah, and we did get a email from Councillor Stanberry, and he does say there's a few things that
Yeah,
are a little bit more costly, but
if I can just comment on that.
yeah, go ahead.
So the hardware, like I did just look this up, and the hardware that I have indicated is for business level versus personal. So we'll have to make a decision about which one is most appropriate for use for the long term at the park, right? I'm not sure what the difference is, but if we were to go with the business level hardware and services, then it's a bit more expensive than personal use. I assume it's a more rugged hardware, but
And there
given significant presence.
there was a discussion brought up too also about having a solar panel running it so that it's subsidized by that, which could also be able to get a grant for.
Potentially, yeah.
So, those would be some of the things we would ask them to look at, the staff to look at, but I don't see it being a bad idea. My only worry is keeping them clean and keeping them from being wrecked. Go ahead.
If I could, there also is other potential uses. We could get some really good video feed for wildlife or whatever in the off season, where we could maybe, shift the cameras away from the parking lot. So there's some additional benefit. However, the issue is that it doesn't matter how often we post. Murphy's Law said that when you get there, we'll be in the park.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't matter if you just look, there will be no parking when you get there.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And while that was one of the arguments for the proponent or for it is like, somebody's driving down, they want to check to see what the status is. It is as you receive it. But I think that it gives a good idea of where the parking lot is at. If somebody sees one space or two spaces, I don't think they're expecting to receive it. It also would give a good indication of where the winds are at, and the winds on the lake can pick up really quickly, and you get an idea of whether it's a calm day or it's a really windy day. And of course, any vandalism that might happen might be a deterrent for that if they are put up high enough to be out of reach. And I think that would be a big concern of mine as well.
Yeah, I think there are lots of options for it. Now, do you want to just, if I can make comments?
Yes.
I appreciate Councillor Whitesell bringing this forward because we've had discussions about this. I do want to just make sure that community understands that Facebook isn't the ideal, the concerned citizen page isn't the ideal place to bring a concern to council or staff, because we may not see that post. So in this case, Councillor Whitesell saw this post, he's able to ask that we as a staff do some research and action it. But then what if somebody else makes a post and assumes that it's going to get action? but nobody sees it from council. So ideally, people will email us at village@canalflats.ca or email council directly. Their emails are on the website, but we don't want people to feel like they're being ignored because somebody didn't see their post on the concerned citizens page, because it isn't a formal way to interact and bring issues and concerns or questions forward to the village. And it's hit and miss. But I mean, we've been discussing this internally, so it wasn't a surprise to see somebody bring it forward.
I just happened to be on at the time, and I'm actually rarely on Facebook, so it was just happened to be something I could respond to.
Yeah, and that's just, that becomes hit or miss, and we don't want people to feel like they're being ignored or purposely excluded from conversations.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor. What's up?
Thank you. Well, experience over the years has said that long weekends is always a problem. Unless you have shitty weather, but they're pardon the French, but have numbers increased through the year for the last couple of years that indicate that there's a more regular problem? We got
I
Go ahead.
hang on.
Oh, sorry.
I got it. I can actually say that we've had some data collection issues. I actually just spoke to one of the beach staff members as she was dropping off the cash today, and it was very quiet at the beach. It's often very quiet at the beach during the week. The long weekend, August long weekend is probably our busiest, followed by obviously the July long weekend, and then a little bit less on September long weekend. But most weekends, it's not ridiculously crazy. During the week, it's not crazy, and it's just really those popular weekends. So we have lots of days, including weekend days where there's not a full park.
yeah, and I guess that was my thinking that my experience says that's exactly the case, is that we have sufficient parking for the normal daily use.
Yes.
As you get to the Saturday, Sunday, the long weekend,
Mhm.
because I think even the Monday, the long weekend,
People are big to
they're
go.
already
Yeah.
leaving. The other reason for these, and you mentioned vandalism at the park, have we had any? Is it a significant problem?
It has not been noted as a significant problem at this point. We have more issues in the park in the village than we do at that one. That's a bit of a walk.
Yeah, get them up there. What about things like rowdiness, people having, and I know there before with in the parking lot, or who gets to get to the parking lot and get their boat in first. I know that there's been clashes over the years.
Not lately, the staff has been very good at monitoring that and making sure that the people that are pulling out, they do have the right of way.
Yeah.
So-
You want to be getting the hell out because that gives you parking spots.
So that's, they've been very good at monitoring that and making sure.
So we haven't had any kind of incidents on a regular basis where people are.
No, not lately. Yeah.
Obviously, there are people who aren't gonna follow the rules. You know, there are people who are consuming alcohol, or they're smoking, or
Yeah.
vaping, or
Yeah.
consuming marijuana at the park. All things that or they're having dogs on the beach, all things that are prohibited. But there's a saying for that, can't fix it.
Yeah.
We're gonna be like that, and our staff are asked, we've asked staff to give people a warning, but we're not engaging in confrontations. That's an RCMP issue. People cannot follow the rules and are being confrontational to staff or other people in the park, then the RCMP would be notified. But yeah, I mean, you're always gonna have that, and do people use the park after close for beach parties? Of course they do,
Absolutely.
right? But as long as we're not seeing excessive damage, or garbage left, if we're seeing, 2-4 beer cans every weekend, then that's a problem.
I guess the point is that there's the installation and the monthly costs and all the rest of it. I guess there really isn't a need other than maybe checking out the parking situation.
Yeah, I mean, again, we could use it to develop some footage for economic development purposes. The issue with video cameras, is that the use of video footage in court is sketchy at best. if I were to, as a, you know, as the CAO, say, hey, on the video, that's this person, if the judge can't make that identification related to the person being charged, they can't use the footage. So even though I may be identifying the person, very clearly, if the judge isn't able to make that identification, then the footage is no longer valid.
Yeah, I just wondered if there was any kind of enough rowdyism and vandalism and stuff.
No, there's not.
So doing that, and it hasn't been a problem that I was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor then?
All in favor of,
Okay.
we'll just keep it on the,
Yeah, for the next,
Yeah.
next council.
okay.
And the last item is the zoning amendment bylaw that Village of Canal Flats zoning bylaw number 395/2026 CF Bidco Property Holdings Limited be adopted.
I get a mover and a seconder, Councilor Weitzel and Councilor Reed. Discussion. Any discussion on this?
Just wanted to verify the size of that property. Is that it takes in the area from the four-way stop south to the side of the Hiring building?
No,
The office building.
Yeah, the office, but it does not include the office building.
no,
Okay, that was just my verification. Thank you.
go ahead.
Within this, is the owner of that lot, like, are they at all concerned about the saleability of what they're trying to do in this change being very close to a technology center?
Go ahead.
They have not expressed, they have identified, some, opportunities for this lot already being generated. So they're not, haven't discussed that. And I think, you know, when we talk about the data center and just the industrial zone in general, and we just, you know, there's been some email discussion. Ultimately, we have to find a solution to, buffer that, and many communities have different type of buffer zones, you know, whether it be a certain distance or it be, some sort of vegetation zone or something, or berm. And I think we just have to, you know, do a little bit more research and make a decision on that. And that would be the responsibility of the industrial property versus the residential property, make sure that there's buffers there. So they're not concerned, and I think if it becomes, you know, if it continues to be a concern, we just need to make some amendments to our bylaws.
Go ahead.
So I through the mayor, I guess I would just ask them, how does that become the industry's problem when the industry was there first and now we're changing the zoning? Somebody goes and builds something that is multi-use or commercial and residential. They're the ones that moved in there knowing full well that there is a noisy type of business that is right there. Why is it up to that business to be the one? Why is the onus on them?
I think the trick would be that we would make a decision before there's more development in that area, so that it would then lie on the industrial. In some circumstances, it is ultimately because industrial is a more financially viable option to be responsible for that versus the residential area, right? If you're trying to keep the costs down for residential, then you put that cost onto the industrial.
And we've been in discussions with the Iron right now, and they've been very helpful and very good about what they're doing. And they're gonna be taking us out to do the metering, as well as give us a report on the stuff that they are doing to mitigate the sound coming from their facility. So
Yeah, it is, and this is a problem I think that a lot of communities are facing, is that they're in BC, we're surrounded by Crown land, we're surrounded by agricultural land, we're surrounded by First Nations land. And there's a lot more of that interaction between residential, commercial, residential, industrial. And so there's a need to determine how to make sure there's no conflict between those zones.
go ahead.
I guess that takes us to the discussion of metering for the sound levels, etc. Has that become a real issue? Because where I live, I've never heard. I used to hear the mill,
Oh, yeah.
On a windy day, I could hear the chains rattling, but I've never heard anything from the iron, so.
And I think
But I mean,
one of the things that we're looking at doing is seeing what the decibels are. I know that when we have cars running over the rumble strips, you can hear that in town. You can hear the trucks hitting their Jake brakes coming down the hill.
Yeah.
You can hear motorcycles start up in town, and it's it's not exceeding decibels. I think that's one of the concerns that people are thinking, that it's too loud. I do know that when they do have a bearing going in a van, they do try to get on it right away, because you can hear that. But they get
I'm sorry, what was that?
a bearing in a van,
Oh, okay,
so you can hear,
Mechanical
yeah, you can hear that. I can hear it from when I'm in Jade, I can hear it when one of them's going. But it's very seldom, and it's not for a very long time, because they get on it right away. So,
Excuse me,
yeah,
you're in that area.
When it is in the dead of night and there is nothing else going on in the town,
Mhm.
I can hear what sounds almost like if you have like a really heavy electrical panel that is just turned on. That's what I hear, this very low huff, like a very small buzz. It's not bothersome to me. I don't know about people that might be closer to there.
yeah, go ahead.
I think it's important to recognize too that, and I think Councillor White's statement is really important, is that decibel metering has many confounding factors that impact how you hear something. So decibel metering on one day is not the same necessarily as decibel metering on the next day. Again, the wind, the level of other traffic or other noises in the community, all of these things, and that, the position in relation to the fan,
Where your bedroom window
where
is.
angle you're on, those are all things that can impact that. It's really challenging, and I mean, I'm hoping for this particular law, which is what is on the agenda right now, is that they are going to, they are aware,
Sure,
it's
they know
their
it's on.
property, that this is something that they should be considering for those residences.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for myself, I honestly don't, hear it very much, and I'm closer than you are to it. If I turn on a fan, I can't hear anything from Iron whatsoever. But I think that, some of the community was, also concerned about, environmental factors. So the impact on our water, the impact on things. And from what I have understood, there's a lot of the concerns that were brought forward via concerned citizens and just via people speaking. Those are kind of non-issues, but I think it's important that maybe some of that gets addressed when we're speaking with Iron as well. And just clarify and maybe give some light to what actually is taking place and what the environmental impacts are.
Yeah, it is a closed loop cooling system.
Yeah.
That does not in fact use water.
Yes.
So that has no impact on our water consumption. That's not why our water consumption has gone up, but it's higher than other places in the country. I think our biggest deficit is that nobody's using the heat that's generated for another product. That's our biggest loss in this program, in this company being here. And so hopefully someday somebody will build something that can capture that heat and use it to create another product.
Okay, I kind of let this get off topic, so we're gonna get back on the topic, and we have a mover and a seconder, all in favor? Gary,
And adjournment.
get a mover and a seconder to adjourn. Councillor Reed, Councillor White's all in favor? We're done.
Thank you.